Dexter Resurrection, episode 5, titled Murder Horny, which apparently wasn't the original title for the episode as well. There's a very
Interesting.
interesting story as far as like how they came up with it.
Oh,
I liked how
interesting.
they dropped the episode title in the episode itself. It was part of the dialogue, and
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for that. Whenever they do
Yeah.
that, I'm like, all right, roll credits.
Yeah.
Um,
What are we? Some kind of Family Guy?
yeah, really. But no, it was great. Like again, this was the culmination of everything that this season
Hmm.
had been building towards. We got
Yeah. Let's do
the
like a
fallout.
mid-season point for sure.
Exactly. Is we got the fallout from Prater's serial killer dinner. We got the fallout of how Dexter's mood and motivations and everything are changing after him killing Lowell. We've got, some new exploration into Kristen Ritter's character, Mia, and it confirms a lot of theories that we had, earlier on. And some of those seeds that were planted in the previous episode were fully able to flourish this week. But of course, the big part of the story was, of course, the reconnection between Dexter and his son Harrison. Episode 4 ends off with Dexter going to stop Harrison from turning himself into the NYPD, and that is exactly where we pick up. Harrison is shocked, surprised, confused, bamboozled. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing a ghost. You're supposed to be dead. What are you doing here? And Dexter's like, hey, we can't talk about this here. Let's go back to, my place and I'll explain everything to you. And just that initial scene where he was like, hey, I'm going to try to explain everything to you, are you okay? That sort of thing. And Harrison's just like, he's freaking out. He's got so many different things going through his mind. And the biggest part of that was still the guilt and the fear that surrounded Harrison. And I think that they played it so well. And they showed that dichotomy between how Dexter is feeling. He's feeling calm and relaxed and relieved after killing Lowell last week. Or I guess technically in the span of the show, last night. But in context of the show, this murder that Harrison committed happened days, weeks possibly ago at this point, and it is still eating away at his soul. And I loved how they visualized that with the watch, right? They're talking about the murder. Dexter knows everything, and he's like, hey, let me hold on to that burden for you. You hear the ticking of the watch, and it like comes to a head, it, crescendos and then fades away as Harrison hands the watch over to Dexter, and he's literally physically carrying that burden for his son. I thought that was such a great visualization. I thought, again, it was such a great way to see the dichotomy again between these two characters. Is Harrison is not like his father. He feels regret, he feels remorse for this killing that he, for this crime that he committed, even though he did it for the right reasons. Wherein Dexter, again, he feels no remorse. He is feeding into his dark passenger every time he commits a murder. And I think Dexter's starting to slowly realize, okay, maybe I am projecting this idea, this darkness onto my son because I want so badly for him to be like me. I want so badly for there to be someone else like me. And we see that a lot with Mia as well, as Dexter again projects and he wants this thing that he thinks is there but maybe really isn't there.
I think is way more fascinating though to have a
Mm-hmm.
son that does feel, that does have compassion, that
Yeah.
doesn't like to kill, at least not on the same
Yes.
level as Dexter,
And like
because
he's
he does.
capable of it. He's capable of it. He still has those impulses,
Yeah.
but not to the extent of Dexter. And I think
No.
Harry is being that voice of reason for Dexter as well.
Hmm.
Is he's like, hey, take a step back, give him time,
Yeah.
let him sit with this, and
Mm.
he's not like you.
And I would
And
argue Dexter is now doing what Harry should have done, right? Because
exactly.
after Original Sin, and I was thinking about this week, I think this is what Harry kind of wanted, right? Like, not on the level and not for the same reasons, right? But I think
Hmm.
Harry wanted to have the capabilities and the feelings to be able to take people off the board that he deemed unjust, or that like he saw the justice system wasn't working and he wanted to take care of that himself and he couldn't. And so I think in a very subconscious way, he pushed that on to
100%.
Dexter, and he was able to put that on him, and he was about to do that to his own son too,
Yeah,
and he's
but
finally
he
realized
it.
Wait, maybe this isn't what is
Yeah.
best for my
And
son.
speaking of original sin, the comparison that Dexter made, he was like, hey, this is what happened during my first kill and, you know, my first urge. And I loved the fact that they actually just ripped footage straight from original sin. Like, I think that's the perfect way to use it. I even, from this, it branched the idea of, I think during the filming of Original Sin Season 2, they should film some specific stuff to use as flashbacks during Resurrection Season 2. I like how it tied into stuff that we had just previously seen, but also it's for those people that might have skipped Original Sin as well. And they're like, oh, there are all these stories with Dexter, like it's him kind of fighting those urges early on, and it's like, okay, let's see the different side of this. You know, Harrison is not like Dexter, and Harry makes it very clear too in the episode, is like, Dex, there's no one else like you. When, you know, in reference to Lady Vengeance, in reference to Harrison, but there is no one like Dexter Morgan. And to get to see the origin story of that and seeing the differences and where those paths diverge between father and son and what led to, you know, Dexter going down the path that he did, it's because he didn't have the right kind of guidance. As much as Harry wanted to do the right thing for his son, he was going about it in the wrong way. And now that Dexter has seen what works and what doesn't work, he now has the tools at his disposal to raise his son in the way, like you said, in which Harry should have raised him from the beginning. Is not, you know, demonizing his urges, but also not molding him and forging him into somebody who is controlled by them.
But I do think it'd be a very interesting dichotomy if it's like he hates killing, but he still has those urges. So like,
Yeah.
he can't stand it. He's not good at it, but yet something deep inside of him still craves it. And I think that would be even more of an interesting.
I agree. And I think that is what we're going to see with Harrison throughout the rest of this season. Again, going to our theory of, if Batista doesn't make it out of the season, I unfortunately think it's Harrison that's going to, you know, whether ceremoniously or not, be the one that pulls the trigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, as much as Harrison wants to separate himself from that, when push comes to shove, especially like, again, what happened with Ryan Foster and the woman in the hotel, like Harrison even said it in this episode, like he could have stopped. Like all he had to do was just stop Ryan from hurting her, or like when he was talking to Detective Wallace, like, you know, he could have just called security.
Yeah. I think
Harrison
I just
knew that, you know, as silly as it is, with great power comes great responsibility, right? Like he has the ability to do something and the means to do something that most people wouldn't. And that is stop people from committing these heinous acts ever again.
Yeah, I think what it ultimately might be, I think he loves the feeling of killing, but he hates the guilt that comes with it. You know, like I think he wishes he could like kill these people and just be like, all right, you're back, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like not having to deal with them actually being dead. If I like, I'm no therapist, right? And it'd be very fascinating to get him in a therapist seat again or something like that. But like, if I
think they need family therapy.
oh yeah, 100%. And we did that. Did we do that last season? With
a little bit. Yeah.
That was fun.
My next point here is we learned quite a bit about Prater's background, whether it's true or not. Like he has this interview, you know, with this news reporter, and basically he's come from these humble beginnings. He was an orphan. He's a, you know, self-made billionaire and is trying to give back to the city that helped him as a kid, is kind of his facade, but just the way in which he spoke about things, just his mannerisms, his facial expressions, the way that he was watching the replay of it himself, like at the end of the episode, and was so invested in it, almost like he's happy with his performance. I think there's definitely a lot more to Prater than meets the eye. I think he was hiding who he truly is, a lot during that original dinner scene. And while, yes, he might not be a killer like Dexter, like Mia, like everybody else that he invited, there is a lot of darkness in Prater, and I am very interested to see where that goes. What is your theory?
Tinfoil hat theory a little bit. And this is something like shout out to TikTok, because this is something I heard a lot of people kind of like mentioning. Is like, wouldn't he know what the Bay Harbor Butcher looked like? Like even if people don't know who Dexter is, Dexter was still connected to a lot of Bay Harbor Butcher cases. He was connected to
the Bay Harbor Butcher was Dokes.
Yes, but he was still like connected to a lot of those cases. LaGuardia thought it was him, and that would have been, I think, public knowledge.
That's true.
Like a lot of that stuff, people have been like, I think he knows 100% who Dexter is. I think he knows that he's lying to him. And then this led me down a rabbit trail of like, what if this is all about him? What if he created this entire group just to lure Dexter in? Because he knew if he got a word, this is like tinfoil hat, because he knows if Dexter found out about this stuff, he would 100% want in. And this has all been about trying to get him in, if that's from a fan's POV, or maybe it's something else. Like maybe he has a vendetta against him. Like maybe he hates serial killers. Maybe he's super against them. This is all like a ploy. Which would be that's I'm jumping so many hoops to get here. Yeah. Like it's not even funny. But I do kind of want to throw that out there, just to be like, well, if I am somehow in the realm of the board, I think that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm never gonna say never, especially again when you have the theories going around there that Blessing is the New York Ripper. I've seen that Blessing's mom is the New York Ripper. I've seen Jonah, Trinity's son, comes back and is the New York Ripper. I so many like different random theories. Yeah, people think Prater is the New York Ripper. Yeah, so I think it's definitely something that will be explored. Oh, also, Detective Wallace's partner, what is his name? Olivier, I believe. People think that he's the Ripper as well. Yeah. Well, I've also seen theories that they're connected to the Gemini Killer, potentially. Like, the Gemini Killer has, like, a twin or something. I don't know. Like, they're just, like, random things. So, again, I want to say that these are all very much so tinfoil hat theories. If this season is anything to go off of, it seems like the simplest solution is usually the solution. And we saw that a lot with this episode.
Similar to what Maddie was saying, I hope they don't do it until at least next season. I really like the idea of there just being the serial killer out there, and
100%.
Just we don't get back to it. Even if you want to wait, it'd be kind of cool if it was like your final season or something. Like if we stay in New York for like all the seasons, which I don't think is true. Save it for like season 5 or something where you're wrapping up the whole. Like that could be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, no, I want them to do a long game like that because they've never done it. Like there's never been a long overarching multi-season villain. Yeah.
It'd be a waste if we introduced it now with now we have 5 episodes to play with this.
Yes, I would only say tease it maybe in the finale. Like maybe don't even show this character. Don't cast an actor if we haven't seen them yet.
Yes, yeah.
But just tease it out and say there is more, more to the story.
Yeah, unless it's someone that we already have in the cast. If it's like Prater or something, then
exactly. But yeah, so continuing on, so the next kind of big story of the episode, of course, is everything going on with Dexter and Mia, and they go on, a couple little dates. They've got the bowling date and everything, which I thought was a great callback to the original show, and, Dexter always going bowling and everything. And I do love, too, how they keep bringing back the aspects of him still recovering from his injuries, right? It's like he's bowling and then he's still, like, holding on to his shoulder. He's still not 100% as far as being healed goes. But all of these interactions between Dexter and Mia, get them talking. The big kind of crux of this episode is Mia wants to collaborate with Red, not Dexter, but collaborate with Red on a kill. And Dexter's a little apprehensive, but he's kind of head over heels for somebody who he thinks is just like him. Literally just a female version of himself, somebody who has a code, who only kills, abusers, predators, assaulters, that sort of thing. So he's like, all right, I'm in, I'm down. And that's where we get that scene where Harry's like, Dex, I don't think this is a good idea. Like, I'm warning you now, basically. And he gets to say, I told you so, a little bit later on as they're sitting down having the wine and everything, and they get a little bit deeper in conversation about their methodologies and that sort of thing, and they kind of, go into what their process is. And Mia starts talking about how she started off having that code, but eventually the itch became too much, and she started just kind of indiscriminately killing. And she just enjoys the process of killing whoever. So she'll still go about it in the same way, but it doesn't have to be somebody who deserves to die. She will literally just kill anybody. And then that is, the switch flipped in Dexter. It's so sad, just like all of his hopes and dreams of, he's like, oh gosh, I'm cooked. Like, this is Lila all over again, isn't it? So it was then when he knew what he had to do. Like, it just, like, you could see it in his eyes. Like, he was like, all right, screw it. Like, this is how it's got to be, isn't it?
It does feel like they get to call out the audience a little bit. It's like, yeah, you stereotype.
It's like, you really think, it's like, you really think these two serial killers could have a happy ending? And again, Harry even says it. He's like, what do you think was going to happen? The Bay Harbor Butcher and Lady Vengeance team up and, ride off into the sunset together? Like, no, like, get a grip, Dex.
And it does make a lot of sense in terms, like, when you're list is so niche, right? Like, it's not only just bad people like Dexter. It's like, okay, these bad people that do these very specific things. It makes sense that you would run out of suspects eventually. And then it starts as like, well, this person might have done this. It's like, and these people look like they may have done this, until it's like, it's a man. So let's just,
right, yeah. So
like,
literally slowly, the lines are blurred.
Yeah.
But again, that shows you the difference between, just like Harry said, there's nobody else like Dexter. It shows you how those lines can be so blurred. Is like, maybe you have, a virtuous cause at the beginning, but if you let yourself be consumed by the darkness too much, then you go down that path. And I think it's a warning sign. It's a symbol of, okay, this is how Dexter could be without a code. This is how Harrison could be without guidance from Dexter and without a code. So as this is all happening in the background, of course, again, Harrison is still, worried about what's going on with, the Ryan Foster murder and everything like that. He talks to the detective again, and, she's again hitting him with some very tough questions, and he's back to the like, oh, so I'm a suspect again? And she's like, you're not a suspect still. So, I love that aspect, but you could see this playing out as the episode was going on, and that, of course, is that Dexter was going to end up framing Mia for the murder of Ryan Foster. And this was something that we talked about last week, because Ryan Foster fits her MO. So Dexter ends up sneaking into Mia's apartment. I love the line where he was like, I thought the night would end with me at Mia's apartment, but not breaking in. I thought that was pretty funny. But he plants the watch in her trophy collection. When Mia comes back and brings the innocent victim with her, Dexter waits for some stuff to go down. She hits the dude over the head with the wine bottle, and then I loved this scene so much. I think everybody did. Is Dexter in his hoodie, and he's got he ends up calling the NYPD. He's like, I saw Lady Vengeance take some guy into her room. I think she's gonna kill him. What? No, it's Lady freaking Vengeance, dude. Get the cops over here now. I told y'all I saw Freebo.
Michael C. Hall is having a lot of fun this season with the various accents that he gets to do.
I love it, dude.
It's really, really fun. Yeah, and
it's so good.
I was a little sad about the whole Mia stuff because it's Christian Ritter, and like this is a character that I want in the show. I would like for the whole run, and not saying she still can't, right?
Yes.
Like I could see, she's not dead. She's just locked up in prison.
Yes,
right?
she's in prison now. Detective Wallace wants to talk. Detective Wallace wants to talk to her. We have Uma Thurman's character Charlie talking to her, and I think Charlie's a very interesting piece of this puzzle now too. Is we got that little brief scene with her mother, who seems to be possibly terminally ill, or just at least in intensive care. It adds a layer to Charlie. So, okay, maybe I was wrong about her being like all bad and possibly, the big bad of the season. Like, it seems like she is maybe only working for Prater for the money to help pay for her mother's treatments. That's what it seems like. So I wonder if Charlie could potentially end up teaming up with Dexter by the end of the season. Like, that would be a very unlikely pairing. Is that on the surface, you would think that it would be the Bay Harbor Butcher and Lady Vengeance, but maybe once Prater figures out who Dexter really is, once Charlie really figures out who Dexter is, I would be hard-pressed to say Mia was not suspicious of Red, because what happened? Lowell met with Red, and Lowell disappeared. Mia met with Red, and she now got arrested. So there is a pattern here. Yes, Dexter even brought it up as like, okay, I can't kill her, because if now 2 people end up dead, then that really looks bad. Once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting. And I think the other aspect of this too, right? So Harrison and what's her name? Is it Elsa, I believe? I think Elsa. So Harrison and his friend see the news and are like, oh shoot, this is crazy. Batista sees the news and is like, bro, what the heck is going on here? Like, I know this is not factual, right? So Batista, again, he's still on the trail. Harrison has a sense of relief, which we'll get to in kind of that final scene with Dexter and Harrison. I absolutely loved. But I still think that, again, Detective Wallace seems suspicious of what's going on. Like, I don't think that she is the kind of cop that will just take this at face value. Because how did this watch, that I'm sure there's a record of Harrison picking up from the repair shop within like a 24-hour period, end up in the possession of a known serial killer who, yes, Ryan was a target that she would have gone after, but the chopping up of the body and putting into trash bags is not Lady Vengeance's MO. What other killer's MO is that? And again, you've got the other piece of that puzzle there. You've got Batista, who is investigating the Bay Harbor Butcher. I think Detective Wallace is going to figure some stuff out, and there's going to be a big decision to be made here, right? And that decision is, do we go after, because I think she's going to, in the end, think it's Dexter that did it, and that Harrison's trying to cover for his father, is what it's going to end up being. And I think that the big question, the big dilemma here is going to be, do I allow this guy who is taking out all of these other serial killers to roam free and continue doing what I can't do as a detective, as a police officer? Or do I bring him in, but allow all of these other killers to go free? So it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing. And I still think that we could get to a point where we get to my theory of Dexter being Detective Wallace's CI and going after all of these other killers. Again, especially if the New York Ripper is this, white whale of a, antagonist for her, right? I think what better way to go after such a profound killer than with the most infamous killer in this universe. We then have Harrison and Dexter meet up back at Dexter's place and everything like that. And they kind of really come to a good reconciliation after everything. And Dexter's like, yeah, dude, I got your back. Like I was not there for you in the way that I should have been as a father. My father pushed this agenda onto me to become who I am. And I know that that's not who you are. And I know that that's not the direction in which I should be pushing you. So I'm going to be here and be the best father for you that I can be. And if that means that I have to, clean up some of your messes sometimes, I will, of course, do that. But also, it seems like, too, in a lot of ways, is kind of the end point of this is I want to help you channel these urges in a better way than I ever did, is find a better outlet and, again, be there for you. And it just that kind of coming to terms with that and them being on the same page and just kind of the little reach across the table and it just them being back together as father and son. I think that is such a good point to end this episode off on. And again, we've got a couple different other aspects. Like I think this all really came to a head because of that little conversation with Blessing and Blessing's mother earlier on in the episode. And that really did parallel the situation going on with Dexter and everything like that and Harrison. So I think that was, again, another great element. I love Blessing and his family and all of those pieces. And I saw a theory earlier, right? So Dexter got his new blood slides and everything like that. I loved how he tried to put them in the radiator originally, but then he put it in the little hidey hole that Blessing's daughter used. Imagine Blessing ends up finding the blood slides, because the blood slides are what came back to bite him originally. What is that reaction going to be like? What is that conversation going to be like?
I don't think it can be Blessing. Not saying it couldn't, like, in the story, but I think just, like, narratively, I would hate that, because I do sometimes think there's a realistic thing that happens with the show, that, like, everyone in the cast is a serial killer, right? Like, every new person we meet is a serial killer. I think the, like, first person Dexter happens to meet in this new city happens to be one of the greatest serial killers. I would hate that. That's too contrived.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I think that, yeah.
But maybe someone around, like, what if it's, like, his daughter? Like, what if it's, like,
I don't think, again, I think that's such a big red herring. That's just, yeah, I think that's just people trying to see something that's not there. I think it's a fun theory. I think it's a silly theory.
It's of, like, Savitar being Joe on the Flash. It has to be Joe. It's like why would they do that?
Yeah. So again, I don't think that's the direction that they're going. I think, again, Blessing is there to show that there are still pure of heart people, and again, that Dexter should have a friend. And I know that he talked about that a lot, about being alone and not having anybody that he could kind of share his burdens with and things like that. And yes, now he's got his son back, but again, he can't treat him in the same way that he treated some of his past partners. And I loved how, again, something I completely forgot to mention, Harry mentioned not only Miguel Prado, but also name dropped Lumen. And why would you name... That was, like, simultaneously something I loved, but simultaneously kind of also, like, why would you name drop Lumen as, like, a serial killer in the same vein as Miguel Prado? Like, Lumen is still, in my mind, the one success story that Dexter had. You know, and also, too, kind of Hannah, to an extent, too. She ended off as an anti-hero. Like, you know, that final bus scene, right? Yeah, and she raised Harrison, so, you know, not a problem. But yeah, I love those little name drops. Also, obviously, I loved the references and mentions to Rita, and everything in that regard as well. Yes, yeah, they're literally again, they're hammering us with that for sure. But no, as we finally is I just love Dexter finally being honest with Harrison. And like Harrison said, finally the truth. And I loved that. But overall, I think while this might have been a bit of a slower, bridging, foundational kind of episode, I still think it was a great episode. Like, it wasn't, you know, as crazy as episode 4. I still think episode 4 is probably the best episode of the season. I wouldn't say, and again, I wouldn't say like it dropped in quality or anything like that. It's just slower, and it needed to. This is the calm after the big hurricane, after Hurricane Dexter. You know, there are a lot of elements, because again, you've got Batista still investigating Dexter. You've got now Mia in prison, who is talking to Charlie about what happened. You've got Prater trying to cover his butt, while also still appearing as this, you know, great philanthropist kind of character to the city and everything like that. You've got the elements with the other killers, the Gemini killer, you know, Rapunzel, all of that stuff. I've heard people say that Rapunzel could be a bigger character than we think as well. Like, that he might end up targeting Harrison's friend, Elsa, because like again, I think he kills girls with ponytails or something like that, and she's got a ponytail, so like that could technically be something, again, grasping at straws, but that's not out of the question. I think, you know, overall, again, this show is so strong week to week. It's so strong week to week, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Again, that's the same thing that I say every week, but the fact that I am enjoying watching it, taking notes on it, you know, making videos, you know, talking about it on stream, speculating, and this is like this is the highlight of my week. Maybe that's sad, but like it's so enjoyable right now. And again, this is what I was prepping the whole year for, basically, is like, this is the moment, and I'm going to enjoy every single second of it. And then, hey, Original Sin Season 2 promotion, I'm sure, is going to start, you know, right after this. So, you know, buckle in. Buckle in, buckaroo, because Dexter's here to stay. But yeah, it's been Tazz. And I'll see you guys in the next Dexter discussion.